say, what's that? It's Pat.
All right, so hi everyone. I am Patrick Argiro, aka Cousin Pat, and I am here with Pam Goodwin. She is a professional speaker, #1 best-selling author, coach, mentor, media personality, and TV host, and the queen of commercial real estate. And I got all that from her website. So, how are you, Pam? It's nice to talk with you. How you doing today?
Fabulous. Thanks for having me on your podcast, Cousin Pat.
No problem, no problem. I came across you. I saw an interview you did, and it was I just thought it was a great interview with Kara Golden. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
The founder of Hint.
Yes, she was one of the first people I interviewed on my new TV talk show, The Pam Goodwin Show.
Yeah. So how is that going? How is that going?
It's going great. As you mentioned, I do commercial real estate as a living and have been in that some format of more than 30 years. I own my own business here based in Dallas, Texas broker. But I always wanted to do something different on interviewing, a variety of people, from celebrities to business owners, to writers to local heroes. So I decided last year just to start my own show to interview people. Kara was one of the first ones so inspired of her journey on creating Hint.
Yeah, no, it was a really good interview. I was really impressed. I liked her story, and I like how you I wouldn't say handled the interview, but how you did the interview was really great. And so just a little background on what I am. I'm a former homeless guy, and so had problems and issues in life, and then worked through them, and now I'm a therapist. Came about that through a journey of trauma and grief, and similar to you, I want to interview people. I don't necessarily care if they're famous. It's just having a good story, and having a story of diversity, having to work through something, because I think there's lessons to be learned in everything you do, right? Like, for example, wouldn't it be awesome if you and I can interview the heavyweight champion of the world, Tyson Fury? Now, we can't do what he does, but he went through a problem. He had some depression, but there's lessons to be learned in everything. So I think there's even lessons to be learned in how you came about. And one thing I liked about an interview I saw you did was that you wrote a book called what was it called? 1 Cent Lemonade to $1 million. Is that correct?
Right. 1 cent lemonade to $1 million deals, and 25 jobs and 25 lessons learned.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit more about that. So you had a lemonade stand when you were a kid, and sort of you've always been entrepreneurial?
I think so. It started with, on my dad's side, him and his chicken business in Omaha, them of even starting the lemonade stand, always wanting to make my own money. The harder you work, or you can make as much money as you want. So I don't know if it's money driven or just always wanted to work hard. I've had a lot of variety of jobs, and had learned a lesson from every single one, and decided to write success to help other people.
Okay. And that's great. And I believe did that book go #1, or was it the let's see, your other book went #1, right? #1 bestseller, Winning Ways.
Right. That the Winning Ways in Commercial Real Estate was a bestseller on Amazon when it first came out.
Well, that's great. So let me ask you this. I know you've battled breast cancer, and I hope it's okay that I ask certain questions. So how is that in remission right now, or has been in remission quite a while?
I was diagnosed October of 2019 during just a regular mammogram, and that's where was found and did all treatment in 2020, which was interesting during the pandemic. So I was having treatments for 2020, so it's recent. Oh, and all is well.
Okay, and so now,
Changes
okay,
your life.
what's that? It alters your life?
I said it alters and changes your life once you're diagnosed with something like that major.
Oh, I'm guessing it would. I can't obviously sympathize or empathize because I don't have that. But obviously, that seems like something that would change your life. And so now it's a mission of yours to make sure that that women are getting. Did I read a 3D mammogram or tell a little bit more about that if you don't mind.
Yes, I'm on a mission to have all women get their 3D mammogram, because mine would not have been found with the standard 2D mammogram. And a lot of insurance starting to pay for the was not very long ago. I had sick insurance, and I even had to pay like an extra to do the 3D mammogram. And that's a lot of money for an extra. And I'm on a mission to make it mandatory that it should not be an extra for anyone. Because if I didn't know about the 3D mammogram and just would have done the 2D mammogram, it would have been, I found it at stage 1. It could have been stage 4, or all women know about the 3D mammogram.
So you're saying a lot of insurance companies or don't cover this 3D mammogram? Because I never heard. Go on.
No.
We're having I think an issue. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. No, so you were saying, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. First of all, my being naive to that, I didn't even know there was such a thing as a 3D mammogram. But now you're saying that this is something that is it could catch it in a much easier way or see a little bit deeper, and insurance companies are just not choosing to cover it, or is it just they don't feel it's like, what's the story on why they're not covering it?
I'm sure, as we all know, it all comes down to cost. I'm not sure why they don't cover it, but another major thing is that I can talk to so many women and they're not even aware of the 3D mammogram, because it's 5 3D mammogram.
Really? Okay. Yeah, because it's not something that I don't think maybe a lot of people know about that. So, well, that's good that you're doing that.
Yep. I'm on a mission, and I'm really trying to get some of the larger organizations that support breast cancer, to make it more visible too. Or so many people donate to some of them. All women need the best care. There's no excuse why we all don't have the best doctors. And if you don't have the right insurance, that is your health. And it's a major play on who you're able to go see for as a doctor.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of people don't have insurance or don't have good insurance. And insurance companies can be a pain in the butt, as I have experienced. So if you're fortunate enough to be able to afford something like that or have good insurance, that's great. But if you don't, then, that's an issue. And so I love talking to people like you, because I just spoke to Jorgen De Castro. He's a UFC fighter, and the guy just blew my mind because he's fighting. He says he's fighting for his family. He fights for his daughter. And then I'm interviewing a woman later who lost her daughter from, she was murdered, and it made national news. And I can't recall her name offhand, but she's now on a mission where she's trying to help women avoid what she went through. And there's so many weird things. Now they have these weird people, they have these GPSs that they drop in women's bags, and then they can follow you home.
The tiles. Those tiles.
Tiles, yes.
Yes, that's right. Oh
yes.
My gosh.
Yeah, and so I'm talking to her later. So these are the kinds of stories and conversations I want to have, and this is really great because it's not only informative, and I think anytime you could help someone learn about something, that's the best thing. And I think, like I said, my journey is like I'm a therapist. I try to help people, but if there's something that a lesson can be learned and someone can learn about something, now whoever watches this is going to go 3D mammogram. That's great, because I didn't know about that, and I would say a lot of people don't know about that. How exactly did you find out about it?
A lot of things. Our pediatrician, we have 2 boys, 2 sons, and our pediatrician told me about it because she had breast cancer. And before that, I was always doing the standard 2D. And then once she told me and was diagnosed, after that, I continued to get 3D mammograms. But I have her to thank for that. So that, and spread it through social media or being on your podcasts to let it just happened to a friend of mine. She just told me she did the 3D and was diagnosed. She just let me know. And so if I can just help one person like my doctor to find it early, like she did at stage 1, it makes a huge difference. Early detection is key.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm doing a podcast in July with a young lady named Jill Nicolini. Now, some people heard of her, some people haven't. She's very well known in the New York area, and she has a podcast, and she gets about 700,000 to 2 million streams. And I am most definitely going to mention this in that, because I think that is something that if it could help save some lives, why not? And I'm so happy I did this interview just to learn about that. My aunt had breast cancer, and she went through I guess it was 10, 15 years ago. And so I don't think the technology was available. I'm not sure. But it was, I saw the pain and everything she went through, and it did not seem fun at all. So my thoughts go out to you, and I'm glad, and that you're getting the treatment and was able to find this. And so let me ask you, let's try to be on a little bit happier note. Like, people have diversity, right? People have depression, anxiety, go through their issues. What have you had any issues in your life that have stopped you from being successful, and how did you fight through that? Well, obviously the breast cancer, but this is 2019, you were diagnosed, and I would say at this point you were pretty well established. But on your journey of becoming, this successful person, what have you learned about yourself, and what have you learned about being successful, and along the way? Because I've seen you've talked to, and you seem to have talked to some very successful people. I was going down your list, and it's very impressive. And I'm a chatterbox, so
yeah, it's really hard, and I've had anxiety in my life too. And it was when I had a lot of things going on. My father died early at the age of 58. I was getting married. I had a really stressful job that caused anxiety, my first panic attack, and I had to deal with that. And now I feel like I've been able to overcome it. And what I've really learned, that especially after being diagnosed. I was kind of just floating through life. I had a good career doing all that. Been married 24 years, 2 sons. But the number one thing I've learned that has to me made the biggest difference in with the anxiety, panic attack, dealing with all of this high stress is to number one thing that I've learned is to live in the present.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, I feel like I was living in the past, I was living in the future. Once I learned to live in the present, I have to do like a meditation. Once I was diagnosed, I do a morning meditation prayer every single morning that I have to do that. I have to walk every single day. Once I was diagnosed, it's so bizarre how it was like the Wizard of Oz when it went from black and white to color. It's the strangest thing. Even someone else I was talking to who was diagnosed, everything turned brighter blue, the sky, brighter green. I look at every flower. I follow these. I have to go see the turtles in the pond and the nature and the birds and stuff I wasn't even aware of before. Everything came to life, and the stress, anxiety, all of that, it just changed.
Put it into perspective, right? Your diagnosis put everything.
That's right. New perspective.
You know, there's
It did.
That's great. You know, one of the things that they say, and you can't say it too soon because then people think you're crazy, but when you're dealing with grief is, for example, if you would ask, like I had a peer whose son, I had a peer who had a patient who lost their son. And so she asked a daughter, I apologize. And they asked the gentleman, you know, and you can't ask this too soon, but you do ask, can you think of anything positive coming out of this tragedy? And the guy said no, and he was a little upset. And then she thought, well, he's never going to come back. And then a month later, he then said, you know, I don't drink as much. I don't drink anymore, or I drink very little. And I would say what you said is kind of like similar, where now if you had to look at a positive, you're noticing things. You're looking at the flowers. You notice nature. You're probably appreciating people more. I know my mother feels more independent because my father did everything. For me, it was finding my calling. So it is one of those things where it's a weird thing, but you try to, if you could find the positive in the negative. Obviously, we all like to go back. If you could not get breast cancer, that'd be great. If my dad could be alive, that'd be great. But you know, these things happen. You got to move forward and try to be healthy about it. So I'm glad you were able to find these things and do that and pray and walk and all that, and that's great. And how important to you, or would you recommend, I'm not sure, are you doing, like, do you do group support or peer support, or are you a part of a breast cancer support group, or?
I'm on about 3 different ones on private Facebook groups.
Right.
And
yeah,
then I have a couple local here, but I try to help some of the women if they have questions, you know, to support them and answer their questions. But I think, and it sounds a little odd, but you hear it from other people, but the positives outweigh way. I could go on and on about the positive things of how it's impacted me. The other big thing is I used to have several 2, 3, 4, 10 goals or whatever, and thinking I could do it next week, next year. And I put everything in accelerated mode. And so I think that's exciting too.
Now, please forgive my ignorance, but I'm assuming with breast cancer, there are stages as well? Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3? Would you mind if I ask what stage are you in?
So I was at stage 1.
Oh, you were
And
okay. That's why you did say that. Yes, I have a memory thing. That's part of my bio. I got to put my
okay,
bio out there. But so you're stage 1, so that's good. You were able to catch it. Now I know you're not a doctor, but and if you don't know the answer to this, that's fine. How early? I mean, did they start recommending doing self mammograms as young as what, 16? Or
well, they want the insurance companies and they want you to start at the age of 40 for your first mammogram. I am not a doctor, as you said. I think females at the age of 20 should have their first baseline, because there are Facebook groups that are being diagnosed in their 20s and 30s. I'm just blown away by it. And it's mine. I did, even though I have my grandmother had breast cancer and 3 of her sisters, my great aunts had breast cancer. I did the BRCA test. It was not hereditary. So it means that it was environmental. And I just think with all the food, the air, the water, I mean, hair dye for women, fingernail, everything seems to be causing cancer. I think people need to be diagnosed. I mean, to have their first self-exam.
so there are women who are getting diagnosed with breast cancer in their early 20s. I mean, maybe that's a dumb thing to say for me, but I didn't. Wow. And then and you could be diagnosed as old as what, 65, 70?
I mean, there's women in there. My mom just turned 80 and her friend just got diagnosed. There's women in their early 80s up to 80.
Wow.
On and on until, I mean, I don't know the oldest, but women in their 80s get diagnosed.
So let me ask you, because you just said, because for me this podcast it's more, it's to help people, but it's also for myself too. Like this I want to learn. I'm on the journey too, and this is what I tell people when I'm patients, that I'm on this journey with you. What is that test called that you said, so you were able to tell it wasn't? And maybe I should have done more research on this, and I apologize, but what is that test called that lets you see if it's environmental versus something else?
Yeah, it's the BRCA. I think it's BRCA, BRCA test, and it's a blood test that they do. A lot of women that I know 2 women that both of their mother cancer, and so they wanted to find out, and so they did the blood test, and they both tested positive for it, and they decided to both have full mammograms. And never, and so women will do that.
Okay.
And I think there's some celebrities every once in a while. I think you'll hear of some famous celebrities that have decided to do that too, since their mothers were diagnosed with it.
Okay.
But I wanted to tell you, a lot of people ask me, a regular mammogram. I felt like the number one symptom that I had, if I had any symptom, was, because I'm very active and all that, but I would say my number one symptom was being very fatigued, which was very odd for me. So I felt like something was up, and a friend that just got diagnosed, and she told me about it. Even before I told her about my number one symptom, she told me that. She goes, the only thing I felt was really, really, really tired. So, just have your yearly exams is key.
And when you say you feel fatigued, it's interesting, because we all get fatigued, so it's like, that'd be hard, I guess. I started to feel fatigued, and so I started going to the doctor and getting all these tests done. And fatigue, if you're starting to feel fatigue, it could be so many things. It could be, so many things. So it's hard to know, but I guess you just look for those signs if you start to feel like.
I went in yearly for my physicals.
Right. Okay. So you do a physical yearly.
Yes.
Which is important to do. Yeah.
Yep. And right. And I also advise for women, since, heart attack is the number one killer for women every year. They'll just do your basic echo, if you have a physical. I mean, I would get I have a cardiologist, and so I would also do for having your mammogram to have those, you don't want to have too many tests, but I would recommend making sure to have a cardiologist to have that full exam too.
And that's good advice. Let me ask you this, because you are a professional speaker, one of your things that you do, but you also probably have to take it, I'm assuming your doctors say probably take it easy. I'm assuming, like what doctors will do, like don't overdo it. Because that's what they tell me about certain things, like don't overdo it. But is your passion for getting the word out, is it sometimes, are you finding it overwhelming, or is it making you tired, or do you want to go? I mean, because when you do, I don't know when if you have, or have you stopped doing any speaking engagements since your diagnosis, but has it been a balancing act on trying to maintain your health but also stay active and entrepreneurial?
Even though we had the pandemic and it started February, March, I was really in chemo and treatments January and through April. And because of the type of breast cancer I had to take additional immunotherapy until October. But I never really stopped or slowed down too much. Probably I should have a little bit, but I've just made a decision that I focus on the things that really mean the most to me now. And I've said no to a lot of things. Contacted to do some speaking in gigs, and I'm only taking the ones that I feel that can make an impact and make a big difference to people.
Hey, and
I haven't slowed down at all. I probably should.
Well, yeah, I'm not a doctor either, but maybe, I'm not related to you, but you seem like a nice lady, so maybe you should slow down. But, so.
I take a lot more vacation, so I'm going on that, and love spending time with my husband and 2 boys and family. So making memories is a big priority.
I got to tell you something. And I'm going to be a very real person when I do this podcast. I was talking to Jorgen De Castro, the guy from the UFC, and he couldn't stop talking about his family. And to hear you say that too, and I don't have one. I don't even have a puppy. And so it's like I've had some failures in my life in that regard. And so now I've taken this approach where I'm just done for right now. And so, but when I talk to people who they do things for their family or to be with their family or they're enjoying their family, it seems to really be a big motivation for them to do better and to stay active, and it seems to like really drive people and make them happy, and so that's good that you have that support system. And so I just noticed that.
Yeah, I've always been very. It kind of broke up for a while, so I popped in.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say that family has always been important from me really, really early on, very close to my family and friends. If anybody, friends want to have lunch with me, this has been my whole 30 years of my career. I have always made time for friends and family, and boy, did it pay off when you're diagnosed, because what my family and friends did for me the last year and a half or so have just been amazing. I couldn't have done it without them. It's amazing who comes in your life and stuff.
So what would you recommend to someone, for example, myself? I was, when I was younger and talked to other people, a little bit of a loner, not quite. I'm getting better though. But a little bit of a loner, and sometimes people, when they see that, they think you're different. I'm not different. I'm just not as social as you. So what recommendations do you have to people or women who are, or men too, who are going through cancer and they don't have that kind of support system? Maybe they're not as close with their family. Maybe they don't have a lot of friends. Like, what would you recommend? So, because everybody needs somebody to talk to, even if it's a therapist, somebody needs somebody. So, what have you learned, or what could you recommend to people who maybe don't have that kind of support system like you do? They aren't as lucky that you have that.
Yeah, I was lucky. I mean, I would recommend if you have, like in my case where I went, they had a nurse navigator who set me up with and I think there's some amazing private, if you're on social media, Facebook has everything has its good and bad, but I found that the private Facebook groups, whatever you're going through or you're looking for support, there's some amazing ones, and you may have to just find a few. But I've actually met a couple good friends on those groups too, or just in your neighborhood, getting outside for a walk and talking to your neighbor or talking to someone. But you're right, everyone needs someone there, or your neighborhood. Everybody needs that one good friend that they can call 24 hours a day, to be able to talk to or go out to lunch or whatever's needed.
It almost sounds like I was once dating a very bad, very, very, very bad. I say this. I emphasize the very bad part because I dated. I'm going to keep names out of it, but I was with someone who was an alcoholic, but she was a very functioning alcoholic. But then I was with someone who was very unfunctioning. So I joined Al-Anon, and it was very helpful. So it sort of sounds like the way you're describing it is like, it's almost like if there's a group that has like a sponsor or something that maybe, I don't know if that's how it works in these support groups. Another thing that I've seen a lot of is Meetup. Meetup has a lot of groups too, but it almost sounds like if you can make a friend in one of these support groups who, could almost, I don't want to use the word sponsor, but someone that you could rely on, because that's what I recall about sponsors, is that if the person suffering with alcoholism needed to call someone, they had someone they could call. So, whatever the disease is, or, whether it's brought upon by alcohol, drugs, or nature, or whatever it is, to have that person that you can rely on or give a call when you're going through those rough days. And another thing I would recommend, and I am a chatty guy, and I'm sorry, I used to be a stand-up comic, so I talk a lot. But another thing I would recommend is if you can't get a hold of people, these 800 numbers are still very good. There's a lot of 800 for suicide. Doesn't necessarily, even if you don't feel suicidal and you need someone to talk to, call these numbers, and there will be someone there who can just listen. So that's all I want to say on that. But that's very good advice. Thank you.
It's out there, and a lot of.
So let me ask you this.
You're welcome.
What's next for you? What's next for Pam Goodwin? What's on the horizon?
So my number one goal is to have a national TV show on either one of the cable shows or that, but it's to have a national presence, to be the next talk show, to be the next, one of that, to have it on a national level.
So I'm gonna yell at my cable company because you broke up. But did you say like Oprah? Is that what you said? National, like Oprah? I didn't want to put that word in your mouth. But
Yep. Next Larry. Yeah. Next Oprah. Next Larry King. Next, national TV talk show to really inspire women with these interviews, or people. Men and women are, reaching out to me on the interviews I'm doing because they may pick up on one thing that has them take action is my goal, is that if you listen to some action, I'm going to make that call today. I mean, it means so much to me if just one person reaches out to me if they've heard an interview I did. So I want to make it my number one goal is a national level. So I'm going on a major road trip around the country to start promoting my show all over.
Really? Did you tell your doctor?
No.
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell him. I'm just kidding. I don't know who your doctor is. I'm kidding.
I have to, don't tell her.
All right. Well, your husband's
Don't
cool.
tell my doctor.
Well, your husband's gonna be like, "Where are you?" Like, and then you're gonna go, "Oh, I'm doing a national tour." But your husband probably supports you, but he you know.
Yeah,
But
he does. I'll make sure I'll come back every week or so. So that's kind of a plan of just a road trip. But right now I'm just staying based here, still continuing my commercial real estate. I have several. So those two are my, priority business ventures to get sponsors and make it a national show.
yeah, that's the thing. For me, I'm doing this podcast because I'm looking at it as I like talking. I'm a talkative person, and it's like if this helps my business and my business helps my podcast, that's all I'm looking for. But if the sponsor thing happens, that's awesome. And like rejection, you know what? That's part of my life. I've been rejected from some of the best TV shows out there. I auditioned for America's Got Talent. They said no. I auditioned for Last Comic Standing. They said no. They laughed, but they just said, I auditioned for The Apprentice. No. And then my favorite, I don't know if you remember Showtime at the Apollo.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love that show. At the end of SNL, that would come on after SNL, with the Sandman. He'd come out with the cane and pull them off if they were terrible.
Yeah.
But I wish you well with that.
Yes.
And yeah, it was, and some big stars were on that show and got booed off. I can't remember the name of it, but when you say a national show and all that, with a podcast, you can do that. You have that opportunity, and there's so many streams now available where, I don't know if you ever heard of this gentleman named LeVar Ball. He's this very...
LeVar who?
LeVar Ball. His son, Lonzo Ball, got drafted by the...
Oh, yeah, I know him, yeah.
Yeah, he's like a...
Yeah, my sons play basketball, so I know him. I even have a shirt from one of his sons, but yeah, I know him.
Yeah, so he has a show on Facebook Live or something, and I didn't even know they did that. So it's like there's so many avenues to go, but I think it's great to have goals. And what Jorgen was telling me earlier was, he's like, you got to have the goals, but start here, and then keep it going. Are you setting little goals for yourself, or is it just boom, I want that? But obviously the national tour is a good start.
Yeah, I have goals and people that I want on the show and stuff. So I put it on a 5x7 note card every day of what it takes to reach that goal.
Really? See? That's good. See people? That's good advice.
I got to do little things every single day to make it.
That's what it is. And what I've learned is that I've been reaching out to people, and I used to do stand-up comedy, and a lot of the guys I know made it. Most didn't. The ones that made it, you would never thought would make it. But there's one comic. So I have that group I could reach out to, and then just saying, hey, I'm doing this thing, and would you be interested? And most people, if they have the time, they'll do it. Like, they'll do it. The little bit more famous ones, and I don't know, some of the people I've been talking to have people. So that's been like a little bit like, okay, I'll go. But hey, it must be nice to have people. But
Yeah.
but I think it's great what you're doing. I think it's inspirational that because I read somewhere that your goal is to try to talk to a celebrity or person of influence. I think I saw it on your website. You want to talk to one every day. I don't know if you said every day, but when I read that, I was like, oh, this is kind of similar to what I want to do. Different things, not exactly, but I give you a lot of credit because by all means, by all accounts, you are successful, but you're just not like, okay, well, I'm successful, I'm good. Like, no, you have more goals you want to do, and I think that's great to never stop, to keep going. I've heard of people that have had cancer and were going to college, and the doctor said, keep going to college. And unfortunately, they passed, but they're moving forward. So I think
life goes on no matter what you're going through. You last thing you want to be whole life, if you're going through cancer or divorce or whatever, if you let it consume you, it's just going to take over your life, and then you're going to wake up and like, I'm fine. Why did I waste all this energy on the consumption of that one thing? You've got to continue to live life and get out and have fun.
Right. And that's not to say that when you hit something traumatic or something traumatic happens like breast cancer or a divorce, that you don't go through the normal stages of what it is. But then what happens is if you follow a routine, which is normal, which is considered normal, but then if it starts to become abnormal or complicated, that's where you sort of need the help to kind of reframe and get back on track.
Yeah.
So do you have any interviews lined up?
Yep, I have some great interviews I just finished, wrapped up. I have some great ones coming up, so it's all good.
Okay, so we'll tune into that. When will they be posted, and where can we find them?
So they're all posted on YouTube, and you can go to my website at thepamgoodwinshow.com, and you can see they're all on YouTube. You can just YouTube Pam Goodwin and they'll pop up.
Okay.
And if you want to be a guest on the show, just send it to info@pamgoodwin.com. Who is reviewing those requests and plugging them into love to have you, plugging them into dates and times to be on the show.
So you have people too.
I have people too. I have to have.
Oh,
we all need people to help you.
No, I know. No, I'm only kidding. The people that I've been talking to that have people, as you say, they're still good peeps, and they're still doing the show. They're just busy. Everyone's busy, and you need help. So, but it's been great.
I'm ready to go have lunch, and it's Friday, and I'm ready to go.
That's good.
Thanks for reaching out.
No problem.
I want to see some of your stand-up comedy are they on YouTube?
No, they're not on YouTube. And no, they're not on YouTube. It was a while since I've done stand-up, but I can find them and put them on. But it was very nice meeting you. Check out Pam at the Pam Goodwin Show .com and PamGoodwin.com. And Pam is kicking me off because she said she had to go eat, so we're gonna let her go. But we should stay in touch. If you need, I have some guests that I think I could put you in touch with. I think you really enjoy them. And,
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So it was very nice meeting you, and good luck with everything. And
You
enjoy
too,
your
Cousin
lunch.
Pat.
Thank you, and God bless. And take care, everybody. This was Pam Goodwin, and I'll put your
You too.
I'll
All
put your Twitter and Instagram on the description. So, thank you very much. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Enjoy. Bye.
All right. Bye bye.